I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Alright guys, here we are with my modified Stormer 220. We're going to go ahead and set this down, plug it in. I've already got my radio set up here, and we'll do our flight test. Line of sight. See how well this does. I got those new Avon flow props on there, and so far somebody was asking me about those the other day. They're working actually really nice and smooth and really quiet with these LS 2206 motors from Emax. So pretty nice setup there. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. All right, that's looking pretty good actually. Very smooth. Hands off right there in acro mode, just drifting slightly. Doesn't seem to be a lot of wind right here, so this is nice. Let's get a little punch outs here. Okay, you guys want to do a full punch out? We'll do a full punch out in 1, 2, 3. Not too bad. I hear a little bit of wobble there. Just gonna take some tuning, that's all. Some wobble at the high end, but not too bad. And it could be that the heat shrink is possibly rubbing on one of the motors. Have to go back and possibly cut some of that heat shrink off, but very nice. I think this frame is pretty cool. 220 is kind of approaching a larger type of race frame for me. I usually don't like to go too much above 200. But this will make a nice racer. You can get plenty of camera tilt on it. Plenty of punch out with these 2306s, 2206s. Very nice. Flying really well. Full acro mode with Betaflight 3.2 on there. All right, let's go ahead and set it down, guys. Let's do some FPV with the Stormer 220. Here we go.
Yeah, you probably catch me moving through the city like Diddy with a chick so pretty. Everybody wanna hit me on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Bit a hard hitter with a smooth flow so witty. Damn, I'm gritty, hate what a pity. Fake stay shifty, real niggas fuck with me. Chicks ride or die, seen niggas try but they wouldn't say hello if their last name Kitty. Life wasn't always sweet, been a long time coming. Hard times in my life where the kids straight dumbing. Couple nights in jail, came out straight bumming. All I had was family guard, everybody else running. I guess I was. I really was. Damn. I guess I was. Funny how fame and ends could buy friends. I guess everybody loves a winner. What you bringing to the table ain't no free dinner. Better take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. Because I know I did. Talking to my lawyer about a 30-year bid. Looking at my case like you fucked up kid. All because of some shit they said I did. Bet you think I'd break. Could've slept great so I stayed up late. Looking through the Bible trying to carry this weight. Trying to figure out a way to get my life straight. Niggas on the block chilling, homie, I'm straight. Don't you know a young black man just police bait? I guess they just. They must have been. They had to be. A lot of people told me we were tighter than a rope, but they all jumped ship like rats on a boat. Try to act like they can't really have me confused. But all they really want to hear is about a nigga bad news. I chill with these fools. Thought we was cool. Turns out they were thicker than a playmate's booze. Back to the blues. Short on food. Mama getting sick. Dad is too. He's getting grown. Need new shoes. Looking at me like what we gon' do. was I supposed to say? We gon' make it through like yesterday. And any problems that come our way, we gon' knock them right out like Cassius Clay. Because we no longer blinded by the light. Nope.
Hey guys, welcome to today's review. I'm Justin Davis, and today we're going to check out the Stormer 220. I'm also going to show you some awesome flight footage that I recorded with my new Sky Zones. They are super comparable to something like the Dominator HDs. I am super happy about these. Really nice setup on these goggles, and I'm going to do a full review of these coming up, so stay tuned for that full review of those. That's a really good value for this pair of goggles. They are super awesome. I love them. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and dive into the specs, and let me get this review started for you. First of all, I got to say Happy New Year's, everyone. And let me tell you, before I get started, I saw the specs on this one come out on GearBest's website, and I was super excited because it had awesome specs on there. 35 amp ESCs, F4 flight controller with built-in VTX, 2308, 2200 kV motors, an Frsky Receiver version, and a plug-and-play version. Also has a built-in LC filter. Pretty nice switchable VTX powers, 25, 100, and 200 milliwatt. Right-hand circular polarized Pagoda 2 on the back, LEDs, and a beeper. Fully replaceable arms on this quadcopter, and the frame is now available. I think it's like $35, which is a great deal, with 4mm arms and 2mm top and bottom plate to sandwich it in, and a 2mm top plate. Plenty of room up here for your GoPro, and plenty of camera tilt on this one. A really nice camera tilt. Now, this is a pretty decent camera. I didn't have any problems with this one, and it's based on the HS1177 with a 2.5mm lens. It's a CCD camera with 600 TVL, 1/3 Sony Super HAD 2 CCD camera. So all that mumbo jumbo means it's actually a pretty good camera. It also has WDR settings on it. You can go into the OSD menu and you can change around the brightness, contrast, and color. It's also following the 4 screws on top trend to remove the top plate, and 4 screws on the bottom remove the aircraft aluminum side plates. And the props that came with it, I just got rid of those because I'm using the Avon Flow props. They're just much smoother. If I can find those for you guys, I'll try to put a link down below for those. And for these motors make this quad fly way better. Also in the box came this little Run Cam branded sort of soft, spongy, squishy camera mount, and this is pretty decent. It does look like it has 2 notches on the top and plenty of room for you to get to your Run Cam 3 if you have one, or your GoPro session. There's plenty of space up on top up here, and if you want more tilt, you can add a piece of foam there just to give yourself a little more tilt. It does have 2 slots on top of that carbon plate for you to run a strap through it. And just like some of the other quads I've been seeing, that it does have a little bumper out front right here, which really helps in some touchdowns when you're coming in for sort of a hard landing. It really saves your motor bells a lot when you come in. Now, I took off the 2306 motors on mine. I didn't want to fly with those. I just went ahead and took them right off, mainly because I really wanted to try these LS 2206s on another frame. They are the Lite Spec style motors. Now, it does say the input voltage of this quad on their website is 3 to 6S. I would definitely stay away from running 6S on this. It is a 4-in-1 ESC. You do have 35 amp, but I'm not sure that that's the best quality ESC setup on this quad. If you're going to run 6S on something, I would do 40 amp or above. Both versions of the motors that I tried, the 2308s, they had a little bit of vibration right at mid stick, so the tune out of the factory wasn't perfect. It does need some PID tuning if you buy one of these. If you buy one, I would definitely suggest to swap out the motors. That's just going to be my suggestion for a better experience. These are just way smoother motors, and I think they're going to be more durable, actually. And speaking of durability, the test that I did with this, when I came back, I actually hit trees, and I hit a few hard, solid objects. I smacked a tree one time, and it sounded like a baseball bat hitting a tree from across the field. So it did prove to be a durable frame. I think you can trust the frame, especially you might as well, if you're going to order this one, go ahead and buy a second frame along with it for $35. That way you have some extra arms here if you break one. And honestly, if you break this top plate on here or the side frames, I mean, these screws go way into this frame right here, up inside here. If those break somehow, that would be pretty amazing. Now, you want to go over this entire quad, because I did have some loose screws on mine when I got it from the factory. Anytime you get something from China, double check all of your screws, double check all of your solder points on here, because I did see some solders on here that didn't really look so great. When I put my new motors on, some of the solder that they used didn't look like the highest quality, and it looked like some of the solder joints looked actually like cold solders. And let's just be honest for a second here, the 5042 blades that came along with it, this 2 sets of props, I feel like I never even opened these, and I was about to just toss these in the trash, basically because these have a lot more vibrations than a smoother, nicer prop like something like an Emax Flow or a Racecraft prop's going to give you. These are great starter props, maybe a basher prop, but I wouldn't hang on to these and try to PID tune this quad to this prop. It's just going to be a little bit of a frustration for you. Just go ahead and get a new nice prop on there. That makes all the difference in your tune. So my suggestion, just toss these. And if you got the Frsky XM Plus version like I did here, it's nice because they do have the 2 antennas already zip tied off the back. They're starting to do that more and more. These manufacturers kind of know what we're doing out in the field, and they're mimicking what we do, so that's kind of nice. Also, in your radio, when you go to bind this one up, it's going to be set on D16. Now let's talk about some final thoughts on the Furibee Stormer 220. I would say that this is definitely not a beginner quad. Number one, because you need to be able to replace things on here, because you're not looking at some of the highest quality stuff in the world on here. I like the frame a lot. I think it's kind of an awesome frame, and I really like this low profile feature they have here with this stack. It makes everything nice and low since they incorporated the VTX into the flight controller, so it just kind of makes it down one stack more. So what I'm probably going to do with mine is I'm probably going to upgrade the ESCs down here to something larger, maybe 40 amp ESCs. They have some 32-bit BL Heli ESCs that are looking pretty sweet, so I'm probably going to do that for this quad in conjunction with these motors. I think it's going to be a nice little ripper. 220 is approaching sort of a larger size quad for me, but a lot of people do race with anything from a 200 to 220 class size quadcopters. So now let's go ahead and get a weight on it before I forget. That's 313 grams dry weight without the battery. That's, you know, that's not terrible. That's not too bad. That's kind of competitive. So we'll drop on the 4S 1350 there. That's 467 grams, so under 500 grams. It's not totally a monster truck, super heavy. So like I said before, I want to bat this home, make sure you guys know this. This is definitely not a beginner quad, like I said. This is maybe your second or third quad, and something that you can work on if you have any type of system failure in here. If you're a brand new guy, you want to probably look at something like the Darkmax or maybe the X215. And I'll try to put some of my favorites, more successful type of Furibee quads down below here. You can check some of those out. I'll do maybe my top 5 or something for you guys. But the Stormer 220, it's not going to be a 5-star quad. I think it's more like 3.5 stars for this particular quad if I was going to rate this for the components that are on here. I think it'd just probably be a little bit better for the price. So that's my opinion on this quad, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed that honest review of the Furibee Stormer 220. I'm Justin Davis, guys. I'll see you on the next one.